Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. Today is the full moon day, end of October, October 31st. And so this day in our Buddhist calendar marks in Thailand the end of 2563. Tomorrow will be the beginning of 2564. Sri Lanka, the year, it's a year different, so this is the end of 2564. This is also called the Kartika month, the last month of the rains season when we have the Katina festivals, and this sort of is a particular day that we find in the suttas where the Buddha gave a very significant teaching. In the Majjhima Nikaya, middle-length discourses. The sutta called the Anapanasati Sutta, the sutta on mindfulness of breathing, it describes how at the end of one particular rains retreat, it was the full moon of October, then the Buddha makes the comment that the assembly was very energetic. There was a lot of great beings gathered together in the Sangha. There was a lot of, keen focus on Dhamma practice, a lot of progress being made. And so the Buddha said that he would carry on staying in that place and would continue teaching and practicing together with the Sangha there. So that for that, the next month, all the way through to this full moon, is also called the Kaumudi full moon. Kaumudi means the white lotuses. This is the time of the year of the blooming of the white lotus. So all the way through for that month, then the Buddha and the Sangha that was gathered there practiced very, very diligently in a very committed and fruitful way. And as the Buddha made the comment, I am pleased with the progress of the Sangha. And then on that Kaumudi full moon day, this full moon of November, then he gave this particular teaching on mindfulness of breathing, the Anapanasati Sutta. So although in many places in the teachings he talks about mindfulness of breathing and praises its qualities, this particular sutta, Sutta 118 in the middle-length discourses, that this is the main place where he spells out the nature and characteristics, the methodology of mindfulness of breathing. So I often think this is a good opportunity to talk about that, offer some reflections on this, and to encourage investigation, understanding, exploration of this particular form of meditation practice. I think in some parts of the southern Buddhist world, this is even called Anapanasati Day. They actually make a whole sort of festival out of the mindfulness of breathing on account of this particular sutta. I'm not sure about that, but I have got a vague memory of there being Anapanasati days being celebrated in various parts of the Buddhist world on this particular occasion, the full moon that marks the end of the year. One of the things, if you read the Anapanasati Sutta, if you look at it, study it, then you see that it's very closely related to the teaching on the four foundations of mindfulness. That the two are really, I would say, they're a pair. They're very, very closely related, and And when the Buddha goes through the characteristics, the qualities of mindfulness of breathing, then he does it initially in the format of the four foundations of mindfulness. And so these are, as people probably know, those gathered here at Amaravati, here in the temple, and around the other places on the Amaravati site, and then those who are watching, listening to this later on, and other places around the world. Probably most of the people who are listening in and watching are familiar with the four foundations of mindfulness, or these four frames of reference, as Ajahn Amaro calls them. And these are the establishment, the way that mindfulness is most fully and completely, comprehensively established. And the Buddha divides it into these four areas of experience. So the Kaya-nupassana, kaya is the body, so mindfulness of the body in various different aspects and dimensions of developing mindfulness of the body, the constituents of the body, or the activities of the body, and the different ways of reflecting on the physical form of our own body and the physical world generally. So mindfulness of the body, which is very comprehensively explained. Then the second one is Vedana-nupassana, mindfulness of feeling or sensation. And so this revolves around the sensations of pleasant, painful, and neutral feeling. So it is in a way more accurate to talk about sensation in English, because the word feeling often includes emotion and mood and attitude and such like. And in Pali, though, the word Vedana doesn't really refer to that area so much as it does the tactile sensations really through the body, so that the world of Vedana is defined in terms of pleasant, painful, neither painful nor pleasant. Sukha Vedana, Dukkha Vedana, Adukkama Sukha Vedana. Then the third category, again, as most people are probably aware, is Chitta-nupassana. So chitta in this respect, usually chitta means the heart or the mind. That's how it's usually employed. And so this is referring to the qualities of mood and states of mind in the main part. And those of us who are familiar with Luang Por Sumedho's teachings will know that he spends a lot of time in his teachings talking about this particular area of contemplation of mind states, and the developing of mindfulness, and particularly mindfulness and a non-personalizing of mind states, and so that this is an area that many of us have spent a lot of time, put a lot of attention into over the years in terms of Dhamma practice. So in Chitta-nupassana, it's in a sense looking at the qualities of mood and mind states very much in terms of nature. And there's no, interestingly, there's no specific moral judgment. There's no real labeling of wholesome or unwholesome or neutral in this, the contemplation of mind states, but rather it's knowing the agitated mind is agitated, or the unagitated mind is unagitated, knowing the angry mind is angry, or the mind free of anger as free of anger, knowing the mind filled with lust as being filled with lust, the mind free from lust as free from lust. The expanded mind is expanded, the contracted mind is contracted, and so forth. So knowing clearly and fully the moods and states of mind without adding anything to them, without judging them or seeing them in terms of wholesome or unwholesome, and certainly not seeing them in terms of who and what we are, but seeing their raw characteristics, the raw qualities of those particular mind states. The fourth category, and I thought it'd be interesting, useful to talk about this in particular this evening. And when I've talked about this sutta in the past, I've often sort of dwelt upon this or made an emphasis on this, because there's often a lot of questioning or confusion or doubt, debate about what the fourth category refers to. In the text, it's dhammanupassana. And so Dhamma, and written in Roman script with a small d, means a mind object or a mental phenomenon. Dhamma with a big D means the ultimate reality, or the fundamental ordering principle of the universe, the living law that is the ordering principle of the universe. So in Dhammanupassana, and particularly if you look at the sutta on the four foundations of mindfulness, the Satipatthana Sutta, then it can be read in a couple of ways. But oftentimes when people see that in the Satipatthana Sutta, and the foundations of mindfulness, there's a question, well, how is this so different from the Cittanupassana? Are we talking about mind objects or mind states? How are they different? What's the connection? Do they overlap, and what's the distinction between them? How are we supposed to understand that? And I've been in many Dhamma discussions, sutta study sessions, and such like over the years, where this point has been sort of explored, or people are questioning or trying to figure out exactly how that works and what that means, because in the contemplation of mind objects, the dhammanupassana, then it talks about the five hindrances. It talks about the sense objects. It talks about the Four Noble Truths. It's got a whole range of different things that it speaks about. In the mindfulness of breathing sutta, then it spells it out a little bit differently, and I feel that what we have in the sutta on mindfulness of breathing, it's to me, it points out very, very clearly that fourth category is that of Dhamma with the big D, seeing things in terms of Dhamma, seeing things in terms of that the living law that is the ordering principle of the universe, the way things work. Because in the mindfulness of breathing sutta, it focuses particularly upon the attitude, the way of seeing of the whole field of experience, wholesome, unwholesome, neutral, but seeing it particularly in terms of impermanence. And so seeing literally with the eye of Dhamma, seeing things in terms of Dhamma. So in my mind, that indicates that the dhammanupassana is not so much seeing things just in terms of the mind objects, being mind objects, Dhamma with a small d, as it were, but rather it's the meaning of it is principally Dhamma with a big D, seeing with the eye of Dhamma, looking at the whole field of experience in terms of that fundamental orderliness, the law of Dhamma, the structure and functioning of Dhamma itself, as Dhamma as the ultimate reality, the fundamental nature of things. So a simple way of reflecting on this, and what we have in the sutta on mindfulness of breathing, then the Buddha talks about these four foundations of mindfulness as they are embodied in the breath. So the looking at the breath, mindfulness of breathing, the in-breath and the out-breath, in terms of their physical form, contemplating a short breath, a long breath, a deep breath, a shallow breath, the physicality of the breathing process. That's how you develop mindfulness of breathing, through the kaya, through the body, through the physical aspects. So the contemplation of the breath just through its physical qualities of the air entering and leaving the body. And that's the focus of the first foundation with the breath. So breathing, and I find that there's a book by Larry Rosenberg on mindfulness of breathing, which I would recommend if anyone is interested in a really helpful manual of how to use and develop mindfulness of breathing as a practice. I think I would quite happily recommend Larry Rosenberg's book on this. And he refers to this as breathing with the body. The second category he calls breathing with feeling. So focusing on the breath, the in-breath and the out-breath, in terms of the sensations that come with the breath, and the coarse sensations or subtle sensations, the feelings, the physical sensations that arise in accordance with the breath entering and leaving the body. Then the third category, the dhammanupassana, focusing on the breath in terms of the mood and the mind, qualities of mind or mind states that are associated with the in-breath and the out-breath, looking at those particular aspects of mind states, mood, qualities of mental feeling that are brought into being and can be followed with the in-breath and the out-breath. And so Larry uses the term breathing with the mind, if I'm remembering correctly. I haven't looked at this book for a while, so I'm just remembering this off the top of my head. I fully confess, so hope I'm getting this right. And then the fourth category, he labels breathing with wisdom. And so that fourth category of mindfulness of breathing is seeing the breath principally in terms of anicca, in terms of impermanence, as the breath comes in and goes out, not focusing on whether it's an in-breath or an out-breath, but the fact that it's changing, the changingness of the breathing process. And that so one is looking at the in-breath in terms of arising and passing away, looking at the out-breath in terms of arising and passing away, so that framework of the perception of anicca, that is really what I would say the fourth category of mindfulness of breathing is about. And people are very welcome to disagree with me or say, well, no, you don't understand it, Ajahn. And this is not an academic exposition, but rather just my own reading of it or my own understanding or impressions, because that really makes sense to me. And also why that would mean that you had a distinction between a cittanupassana, the contemplation of the breath in terms of mind states and moods, and then a contemplation of the breath in terms of a more, say, radical quality of wisdom, that there's a change of view and a particular lens, a particular window that the breath is being looked at. And so that you're using the rhythm of the breath, the changing nature of the breath, as a way to develop the anicca sanya, the perception of change and uncertainty. The Buddha very highly recommended the quality of mindfulness of breathing, and spoke of it as one of his what he would call his favored abiding. So where he likes to abide is in mindfulness of breathing. Just the mind of a Buddha enjoys just being with the flow of the breath. And so I do recommend this as a practice. Sometimes if we read too many books about it, or we get too technical, it can seem a bit complicated or confusing. But in its essence, mindfulness of breathing is really one of the core practices that we use in the forest tradition, and is so accessible, and so beneficial in many respects, both for the support of concentration, using the focus of the attention upon the breath, where the physicality of the breath, the sensations of the breath, the mind states that go with the breath, but also to support the quality of insight, of vipassana, insight meditation. This is very much a tool, a very accessible tool, whereby we can cultivate insight. Well, just to go back to the sutta itself for a moment, to kind of follow that through, then the Buddha says that he said, this is how mindfulness of breathing fulfills the 4 foundations of mindfulness. So he spells it out, that's what it's doing in that sutta. And then he says the 4 foundations of mindfulness, in turn, they go on to support the 7 factors of enlightenment, the 7 bojjhangas, and then he explains how that works. So if we develop mindfulness of breathing in a very substantial, a full and complete way, then that sort of leads into the growth and development of all of the 7 factors of enlightenment. And in the sutta, he explains it very much in a sequence. So he says, when the 4 foundations of mindfulness are developed through mindfulness of breathing, then that mindfulness leads on to the development of Dhamma Vijaya, of the contemplation of reality, the investigation of reality. That Dhamma Vijaya leads on to energy, to virya, supports the development of energy. Energy then leads on, supports the development of piti, or rapture. That rapture then leads on to the development, the fulfillment of passaddhi, calmness or ease, relaxation. And that passaddhi, that relaxation, that calmness, leads to the fulfillment of samadhi, and then the development, the fulfillment of samadhi leads to the fulfillment, the full development of equanimity, of serenity, of upekkha. So that's how the 7 factors of enlightenment are developed. And then he says, and then when the 7 factors of enlightenment are developed and brought to fulfillment, they lead to the fulfillment of liberation and full knowledge and liberation, I think is the terminology. Full knowledge and liberation. And so and then he says, and how is it that the 7 factors of enlightenment conduce or lead on to those qualities of full knowledge and liberation? And then he says, it's through viveka, viraga, nirodha, and vosagga. So viveka is that the disentangling, or literally means retreat or seclusion, so that the disentangling of the mind from the world of perception and things. Viveka, viraga, dispassion, a kind of coolness of heart. Nirodha, letting things end, the cessation of things. And then, as he says, ripening in release, vosagga, abandonment and complete letting go. And so that this is the way that the mindfulness of breathing, it develops the foundations of mindfulness, develops the 7 factors of enlightenment, and then ripens in full knowledge and liberation, full enlightenment. So that's no small thing. The practice of mindfulness of breathing then has a very comprehensive and profound result if it is developed and brought into being in a substantial and complete way. But it's also I think interesting and helpful to see how it along the way there's the encouragement towards letting go, and how that full knowledge and liberation it's brought about through that vosagga, through abandonment, that letting go of the heart, completely relaxing and so disengaging from all kinds of clinging and attachment. One of the ways that I like to teach this, and particularly speaking about how to create a feeling for that, say the relationship of mindfulness of breathing with concentration, and mindfulness of breathing in terms of supporting insight, is to say when we're practicing mindfulness of breathing, then we're focusing on the particular sensations of the breath, and wherever that might be, that's the most easy to focus on, whether it's in the chest or in the throat, in your nostrils, or I don't like to be too specific myself. I feel that wherever people can sense the movement, the rhythm, the sensations of the breath, that's the place to focus. Because it's not so much a particular place in the body where the sensations are felt that is important, but rather just using that rhythmic flow of sensation as a focal point, as a reference point. So to support concentration, there's qualities of passaddhi, calmness and samadhi, concentration. Then we focus the attention on the in-breath and the out-breath and the specific qualities of that. But when the mind is quite focused and quite steady, and we find that we can pay attention to the flow of the breath in a steady way, the mind isn't getting pulled into too many distractions and ideas of the past and the future, or wandering off into sleepy states or into fantasies or such like, that the mind can pay attention to the present without drifting in any substantial way. Then the encouragement, as most of us are very familiar with, the standard encouragement is to let go of paying attention specifically to the sensations of the breath, and to allow the field of attention to be more open, to be, say, receptive to all of the qualities of the present, whether it's a feeling in the body, a sensation, a thought, an emotion, a sound that we hear, or a visual form. In the development of vipassana, or insight, then we consciously open the field of attention, and then bring the mind to notice the flow of experience. So looking at the process of experiencing rather than the content of experience. And looking at that quality of change, and then also the qualities of unsatisfactoriness, dukkha, and anatta, and not self. But initially and primarily, looking and training the mind to notice the changingness of the field of experience. So with respect to mindfulness of breathing, I find that you can use the quality of the breath to very actively support that process of insight, so that when we say, let go of the feelings of the breath and just allow the attention to be completely open, the body is still breathing. The sensations of the breath are still part of the mix of experience, and so sometimes I find it's helpful to encourage the use of the tone or the structure of the breath as a way of supporting that quality of insight. And the way that I like to do this myself, or to encourage others, is to frame it so that one is literally breathing in the content of the present moment. So as you breathe in, the physical breath is taking in oxygen and nitrogen and the other gases of the atmosphere, breathing that in, and then the body absorbs the oxygen into the blood and releases carbon dioxide from the blood into the lungs, and then you breathe out the nitrogen and carbon dioxide. And that goes back into the general atmosphere. So that using that structure of the breath and the way that the body breathes as a format for how to relate to the whole field of experience. So one is consciously breathing in the different patterns and qualities of the present moment, breathing in the sound or the sensation, breathing in the memory, breathing in the imagined forms, or the concepts and ideas that take shape in a string of thought, breathing that in, so that there's a receptivity, taking it in, and then just as there is the absorption of oxygen into the blood, and that oxygen is what keeps the body alive. That's what fires the cells of the body and gives them energy. And is the life source, as we know. If we stop breathing, then within 5 minutes we'd be dead. So that oxygen going into the blood really is the life source. In this way of using the breath to support insight, then that on a say a psychological level, that the source of the life energy is that quality of mindful awareness, that awakened awareness, that knowing quality of the mind that says, oh, here is a sound, here is a sensation in the body, here is a memory, here is a mood of sadness or a mood of irritation, or here is a sleepy feeling, or here is a bright color. That's what this is. And in that moment of knowing, that's like the oxygen hitting the blood and being the life support for the vitality of the living system. In exactly the same way, that quality of knowing, that's the life source for the mind, for the heart, for the citta. And then letting go, as we breathe out the carbon dioxide, the waste products of the body, that which the body doesn't need and lets go of, releases. So then in a similar way, there's a releasing, a letting go of having seen, oh, it's just a sound, or it's just a sensation, or it's just a memory, or it's just a worry, or it's just a plan. Like letting go of the husk, the empty shell of an experience. So when we take something in, maybe there is, we hear a sound, or we have a feeling or a memory. The initial sensory impact, it can have a lot of solidity to it. The mind can give it meaning and value. It's like, oh, I've got that thing to have to do next week, or oh, that's a painful memory. That's unpleasant to think about that. It's only when something is known fully and completely, oh, that's just a memory. Its empty nature, the sunya quality of it, the empty and selfless, the quality of anatta is recognized in it. The dukkha is recognized in it. The anicca is recognized in it. Through that quality of knowing, it's like, oh, it's only an empty sankhara, it's an empty formation, that's all. Then it's released, it's relinquished. It's just like the carbon dioxide is relinquished from the body. Then, in the same way, that formation, a sound, a thought, a feeling, a memory, an idea, a mood, a plan, a concept, an opinion, a hope, a regret, whatever it might be, it's known, and it's like it's released like the carbon dioxide and the nitrogen we breathe out. Then it's in exactly the same way. It's let go of. There's no thing to own there. There's no thing to hold there. It's released and relinquished. So this I find is a skillful way of using the fabric of the breath, the structure of the breath, to directly support the process of insight. Since the body is breathing, the breath carries on and continues to do its thing, then without focusing upon it as like a concentration object trying to absorb into it, but rather just using its intrinsic, natural, ever-present quality to support that taking things in, knowing them, letting them go. And that just like the result of having breathed, having taken oxygen into the body, then we're alive. There is liveliness, there is vitality, the system lives. So similarly, when the mind has known, is awake and aware of the quality of this present moment, there's real life. There is true vitality. And as Luang Por Sumedho is very fond of quoting, particularly in relationship to Amaravati, it's kind of the Amaravati national motto, mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. The mindful never die. The heedless are as if dead already. This is a verse from the Dhammapada, I think verse 21, if I remember correctly. Mindfulness is the path to the deathless. Heedlessness is the path to death. The mindful never die. the heedless are as if dead already. So when the Buddha said that, he didn't mean if you're mindful, your body will stay alive forever, but rather when there is mindfulness, when the mind, the heart is truly awake and aware, when there's true appamada, heedfulness, then the heart is not tied to that which is born and dying. That which is aware, that which knows, is liberated from the realm of birth and death. It's not entangled. There is the viveka, there's the disentangling, the viraga, the dispassion. The heart is not stirred up about the comings and goings, the changes. It's not stirred up about the body or feelings or perceptions or moods. It's there. It's cool. There is that nirodha. There is the solidity of thoughts and feelings and opinions, memories, ideas, aspects of identity. They have ceased. They're empty. They're seen as insubstantial. So with those being say established, and that in the attitude there is viveka, viraga, nirodha. There is that disentangling. There's dispassion. There's the seeing of the cessation of things, the emptiness of things. Then that ripens in relinquishment. What's there to hold on to? Who is there to hold on to it? There's that vosagga, that abandonment. There's that freedom from those limitations of time and identity and what we call the wheel of birth and death. So if this is a useful practice that I've been describing, this way of bringing say mindfulness of breathing and insight together, then please take that and use that. If you find that just confusing or not helpful, then please leave it aside. Don't assume just because I'm speaking about this from the Dhamma seat that it's something that everybody has to do or should do, but rather it's just a particular upaya, skillful means that I found helpful. And also it's a way of, say, understanding or getting a feel for the sense of how concentration and insight, how samadhi, samatha and vipassana, concentration, calmness, and vipassana, insight, how they relate to each other and can support each other, how they function together. Another of the teachings that comes to mind with respect to letting go and the emphasis on that I feel is, see how, because mindfulness of breathing, often it can be like a thing that we're doing. We're picking up this practice. I'm doing this practice. And I need to do more mindfulness of breathing. I've got to work harder at my mindfulness of breathing. And even though that we can approach that with sincerity and commitment, yeah, that's encouraged by the teachings, by the ajahns. Yeah, this is what is what we're supposed to do, or this is a good thing, and do more of it. So we can take that sincerity, and I should be doing more of this mindfulness of breathing. I should give more time and attention to it. I should try harder at it. I should put more effort into it. That demonstrates a profound sincerity and say a very noble commitment to Dhamma practice. But the way in which we pick up a practice like mindfulness of breathing, that sincerity and that say the attractiveness of practicing the Dhamma, something that we know in our heart, that's a good thing to do, it's beautiful, it's noble, it's liberating. The way that it's picked up can unconsciously create more obstacles and difficulties. If it's something that I've got to do, I should do more of this, I don't do enough of this, I haven't got good enough at this, I need to improve my skills with this. All of that I-making and mind-making, all of that stuff I should be doing, I have to do, that sincerity and that good-heartedness, that noble intention is getting co-opted by the habits of self-view and conceit. The ego, the atta, is hijacking, literally, is hijacking our noble intentions, our sincerity, and our the aspiration of the heart towards liberation. So one of the things I find is helpful to bear in mind in terms of, say, encouraging the development of mindfulness of breathing and these concentration practices and these particular forms or methods of meditation, is to bear in mind it ripens in relinquishment. The whole basis of it, or the fulfillment of this practice, is in letting go, in non-grasping, in not putting it into the form of something I've got to do, or that I should have more concentration, I should have less distraction and defilements. I need to get rid of the hindrances. I need to develop and get the factors of enlightenment. So to very consciously pick up this kind of practice and the work that we do in our meditation with an attitude based on freedom from self-view. And I say this over and over again. I bring this up in many Dhamma talks because it's such an insidious and like invisible, hard to see problem. It's a habit of mind that's so strong and so hard to see, so easy to be drawn into it, that it's really important to bring attention to that we can make sincere, heartful and committed effort free from self-view. We don't have to frame the practice in something I should do, or the way I've got to be, or what I've got to get rid of. But to, first of all, notice how much eye-making and mind-making goes on around, say, the use of particular meditation techniques and practices that we are committed to notice how much eye-making and mind-making, ahankara and mamankara, is going on, to notice that, to feel the tensing, the stressing in the heart on account of that, and to very consciously let that go. And to instead develop the way of letting mindfulness and wisdom be the driving force, the guiding force for our practice, so that effort is not being based on what I've got to do, what I've got to get rid of, or what I've got to become, and what I have to achieve, but rather recognizing here is the wholesome, let there be effort directed towards what is wholesome. Here is the unwholesome, let effort be directed towards letting go of what is unwholesome. None of that has to be based on self-view, on I or me or mine. So it's not something that the mind can just decide, oh, I'll just practice based on right view, and all my efforts will be based on mindfulness and wisdom. No more self-view, no more conceit. I'll park that. It's not just a matter of the thinking mind making a decision. It's a training. It's a whole body training in many respects to really know that feeling of becoming, of I should, I've got to get rid of, I have to say destroy or annihilate these defilements. To get to know that that feeling, the I making and mind making, to know that, to feel that, and to train the system to let go. And then when there are those moments where action and practice and effort is being made free from self-view, free of any kind of conceiving, notice what that's like. Notice how that feels. Notice the quality of that. Oh, there's a lot of effort being made, but it's not stressful. It's not burdensome. It's joyful. It's delight. There's a delight in it. Look at that. Notice that. And again, it's not just an idea of that, but rather as a quality of feeling. It's like a whole body learning how, when effort is being made free of self-view, free of conceit, when it's based on that abandonment, relinquishment, non-grasping, there's a quality of ease. Even as effort is being made, it's not stressful. It's like walking up a steep hill, walking up a mountain. Effort is being made, but there isn't me trying to get anywhere. There's not me trying to achieve anything. There's not me resenting the effort or waiting for it to be over or investing in it or identifying in it in any way. So another of the teachings that is helpful in this respect A different sutta in the middle-length discourses that people are probably have come across over time is what's called the shorter discourse on the destruction of craving, the Chula Tanha Sankhaya Sutta, Sutta 37. So the mindfulness of breathing is 118, Sutta 118. This other teaching that's particularly useful about letting go, non-grasping, is number 37. And so, and in this teaching, along with the Buddha praising mindfulness of breathing as being profoundly liberating and effective as a skillful means, in this sutta he makes a very distinct statement. He says, "Nothing whatsoever should be clung to. Sabhe dhamma nalang abhinivesaya." Nothing whatsoever should be clung to or should be grasped at. Don't cling to anything. In brief, in English, brief English statement. Don't cling to anything. It says, one who has heard this has heard everything. One who has understood this has understood everything. One who has practiced this has practiced everything. One who has realized this has realized everything. And having realized it, then the heart fully knows things in terms of anicca. Seeing things, it fully knows that all things are impermanent. The realization that nothing is worth grasping, and nothing is worth holding on to. Then, when that is fully realized, that leads to the full appreciation of anicca, of uncertainty, of change. And then that is developed through viveka, viraga, through dispassion, through seeing cessation, and through relinquishment. Again, the same words are used in describing the development of that. So this is, again, is not an insignificant statement by the Buddha. That if you know that nothing should be clung to, don't cling to anything. If you know that, you know everything. If you understand that, you understand everything. If you've practiced that, you've practiced everything. If you've realized that, you've realized everything. So he's saying, this is all you need to know. This is just this much, just sabhe dhamma nalang abhinivesaya. So don't cling to anything. And in the Four Noble Truths, the way that the Buddha describes the way to work with that second noble truth, the cause of suffering, is to let go, pahata bandhi, let go, let go. That's the way you get from the second noble truth, the cause of suffering, to the third noble truth, the ending of suffering. That's how you get from truth 2 to truth 3, is let go. So in this particular discourse, to me that's extraordinarily impactful. And Ajahn Buddhadasa in his teachings used to stress this quite regularly and quote that sutta. So this sums up the entire teaching of the Buddha just in these 4 words: sabbe dhamma nalang abhinivesaya. Don't cling to anything. That's the whole teaching. And so what is the challenge then is to see, well, where are we clinging? Where is the mind getting stuck? Because we can hear that and say, okay, that's the important thing to know. If we know that, we know everything. If we can practice that, we practice everything. If we've realized that, we've realized everything. So okay, so that's the whole program, the whole deal. That's everything hinges on that. And so we can understand that as a principle, but then the practicing of it and the realizing of it, that's aye, there's the rub, as it says in one of Shakespeare's plays. Aye, there's the rub. That's the big issue, because most of us, we certain areas we see that the mind is clinging and getting attached and identified, but other areas we don't realize there's any kind of clinging going on. We think it's normal reality, or it's just the way things are, and that the clinging, the identification is invisible, intangible. We have no idea it's there. It's like it doesn't register. So much of the practice, and I feel this is one of the areas where community life is so helpful for us, is that living together, working together, say, having the challenges of dealing with, say, right now with the COVID-19 pandemic and the restrictions of that, living with many other people and working together with people's different personalities, different abilities, different moods, and different characteristics of various kinds, the different aspects of our routine. All of that presents a big variety of situations for us. And because of that variety, we have many opportunities to see where those areas of attachment are, the various different kinds of clinging and grasping. And so it's through that, say, a wise reflection and observation, seeing where we get stuck, using those many aspects of community life, the work we do, the people we live with, the routines that we have, the states of health and sickness, comfort and discomfort that we experience, times of activity, times of retreat, consciously using that to notice where the mind is getting attached to sense pleasure or pain through the sensory fields of experience, getting attached to opinions, ditta upadana, when people affirm the opinions you have, how happy and glad you feel, how much you like that person. When someone goes against your opinions or criticizes your opinions or makes fun of your opinions, how bad and wrong and unpleasant they seem to be, how you can condemn others because they've got a different opinion. How we get attached to conventions, the routines that we have, or how things should be, and that the silabat upadana, what they call the attachment to rules and conventions, forms, that we've always done things in a certain way, so that's the way it should be done. That's the right way to do it. Or the conventions of Theravada Buddhism, or the life in the United Kingdom. The conventions of, say, our conversation and the relationships between women and men, the senior and junior, the lay people, monastic people, to be very conscious of where you get attached, the way we judge each other. Notice this. Use the many facets and aspects of living together, working together, to see where those attachments are, and where we see them, don't be afraid to bring attention to that. And even when you notice that there's some really deep attachment that you hadn't realized was there, to not shy away from that, or not be embarrassed about that, or feel guilty, or pretend it's not there, but to use the practice and the encouragement of the teachings to consciously bring attention to that. Like, oh my goodness, I really don't like that, do I? That's exactly what I don't want to happen. And here it is, it's like this. So that by noticing these many and various areas of opinions, of the conventions that we use, of sense pleasures and pleasure and pain, and then also attachment to our own ego, our own sense of identity, the attavad upadana, the feelings of I and me and mine, just noticing how solid that feeling of I am, I do, I feel, I have, I don't have, I wish I had, I used to have. Those feelings of ownership, the feelings of being, I am happy, I am sad, I am lost, I am confused, I am in charge. All those I ams, the story of our life, how old we are, our gender, our name, or names, the family members that we have, the background that we come from, where we were born, place where we grew up, how solid that all seems, our parents, our siblings, all of that, how much that seems to be real and true and solid. Look at that. See if you can look at your life as if you're looking at somebody else's life story. Why is my story so interesting? It's just a human life, just another story. Big deal. So what? What makes the story that each one of us has so important, so substantial, so real, so significant? There isn't really anything there. Just like any of us who walk through a churchyard here in England, you can see the old gravestones, and sometimes they're so old, the lettering on the gravestones has worn away. You can make out, is that an M or is that an S? There's a few letters have gone there. Just look at your own life like a weathered gravestone. Just a few little fragments, a few marks on a bit of stone. It's home for the lichens and the moss, and a landing place for a blackbird. Good enough. Just a life, no big thing. Don't have to make a big deal out of it. And probably as I say those words, for some of us, there's, don't say that. It's my life. It's important. It's real. It's me. Look at that. Look at that. What is it that rejects that or recoils from that says, it's more than that? But if we play with those ideas or raise those suggestions to ourselves, ask those questions. Why? The gravestone that's marking that person's life, when that person was alive, they felt just as real and as solid and as important as this person standing here looking at the gravestone. Didn't they? Probably. Almost certainly. So can we look at our own life with that same kind of ease and coolness, dispassion? And the mysterious thing is that when we let go, when there is that abandonment, that vosagga, that real profound non-entanglement, non-engagement, non-grasping, then we're able to use the conditions of this life, our personality, our skills, our abilities, our inabilities. We're able to use the aspects of our life, our body, our mind, our living situation. We're able to use them far more effectively. At least that's how I find it to be. So it's a strange chemistry, how it works, that the more you let go of yourself, the more you can completely be yourself. The more that you are not worried about how well you are doing at something, the better that you can do it. Almost always, and for most people, I would say that's true. That by letting go of the world, you find that this life is able to engage more fully and completely and harmoniously, more effectively with the world. If we're grasping the world, if there's a me holding on and existing in relationship to the world, then things are often getting out of whack, out of balance, out of kilter. But in this, I feel, is really the way of the Buddha. The middle way itself is and is embodied in the Buddha's life, the Buddha's approach and attitude. He completely let go of the world, transcended the world, but yet lived completely attuned to and thoughtfully engaged and incredibly effectively engaged with the world, but was completely unburdened by it. He loved the world so much, he let go of it completely and was an incredible source of blessings for the world that he had let go of. So that it's a mysterious chemistry, how that works, but we can see that, we can explore that in our own lives. So this quality of letting go, of seeing that nothing should be grasped at or clung to, just to take that, to use that as like a lamp, like this sort of bright light shining to illuminate the video filming. It's like a bright light, shine that into the different corners of your daily life, the inner world, the outer world, your meditation practice, your relationships with other people, the world around you. Just shine that light into those corners and see wherever that clinging is, that's the place to let go. And when the letting go has happened, how does it feel? What's the quality of experience when the clinging stops, when there is that, and as the Buddha says, when that realization comes about, when there is that true appreciation that ripens in full knowledge and deliverance. In the Kitagiri Sutta, the Buddha says that such a one realizes nibbana in the body, that right in the body, that ultimate truth is realized in the body. Uses that kind of terminology. It's right here, embodied in this life, our life. There is that great peace, that great freedom, and the more that those areas of clinging can be recognized, then the more they can be let go of, and that great peace can be something that is known, is realized fully and continually, without limitation, without interruption. So I offer these words for consideration this evening.